Hey, what's up? This is Ben from WODprep, and I am here with the wonderful, handsome Andy Morgan of RippedBody.com.
Thank you, Ben, of WODprep.com.
Today we're going to be talking about supplements for CrossFit. And we're also going to reveal 2 big scams that you might have fallen victim to. That's the lead in for today. If you've never been there, make sure you go to WODprep.com. We have a ton of free resources. If you haven't hit subscribe to my channel, please do that. Now, let's get into the good stuff. CrossFit supplements. Supplements you may consider taking if you do CrossFit. There's a lot that, frankly, don't work, and there may be a few that might actually have a little bit of benefit. Let's dig into it, shall we?
Actually, before, if I may, dig into this, I just want to say that supplements aren't really going to do much for you unless you've got the other more important foundational blocks of a solid nutrition plan in place. So make sure you get those things looked at first. You cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet.
Amen. Let's repeat that one more time for the audience.
You cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet.
Boom, mic drop. If you would like more resources on coming up with the building blocks, making sure you have your stuff together before you watch this video, check the description below. We will have several links where you can see our other videos about setting up a good diet for CrossFit. Thank you, Andy. That was a great point that we must make. Supplements are not the most important factor.
All right, so supplements. I wanted to categorize them today in 3 levels. We've got the A ranking supplements. Those are the ones that have a very good and broad evidence base, which means that we should consider taking them. Nothing is you have to take it, it's all maybe you would consider taking it. B supplements are those that have a good evidence base, perhaps not as good, and are conditionally relevant. The ones that I'm going to mention today, they are relevant to CrossFit athletes like yourselves. The C base, the C list of supplements, these are supplements that have some research, but really we want to see more research come out to back it up, and currently I cannot recommend that people consider those supplements. Does that make sense? Is that right?
It does make sense. And one more thing. If we don't mention the supplement that you really want answers to.
But what about
blank? What about those?
Consider it to be in the C list.
For now. And if something does change, we will always come back and create a new video, but don't...
Yeah, just bear in mind that thousands of supplements have come and gone over the years, and there's only, what are we going to talk about, 7 today?
Yep.
So, you know, chances are that it's just not going to work out, and it's always pays to be cautious.
Yep.
So anyway, A ranking supplements. I want to split these into health, and I want to split them into performance. So health, if your health is broken down, you're not going to be able to perform, which is why I'm doing the health first. So firstly, a multivitamin. Just a single, simple daily pill that you would take. Not one of these horse pills or packets of many, many pills. Just a simple, single daily multivitamin that has mineral.
America.
That has your that should have your nutritional bases covered as a kind of an insurance policy on a balanced diet. You don't want to double, triple, 10x dose things because you will just pee them out, or you could build up a...
Could be negative.
It could actually be negative, for the non-water soluble ones.
All right, so other health supplements that we might consider taking.
So you've probably heard of essential fatty acids. You might... Fish oil is a common one. It's the essential fatty acids in fish oil, specifically the EPA and DHA, which have very long names, which I've actually forgotten. But these are type of fatty acids that have been shown to be beneficial for health. These can help with depression, cardiac-related death, and help reduce blood pressure. Really sound evidence behind these. Aim for around 2 grams a day, and you can take that with a meal. So you can get that from fish oils, and you could also get it from algae supplements for those that don't want to consume a fish product. Sure. Algae is what the fish eat, which gives them that.
Cool.
Yeah, and this is for those that are not already eating fatty fish twice a week.
We get into a little bit more detail. We have an article about supplements that goes into a bit more depth. So if you want to read more about those 2 health supplements, you can click the link in the description below.
Vitamin D3 is maybe worth consideration. It can help with some autoimmune diseases. It can also, it's been shown to perhaps prevent some cancers. We don't tend to get enough. We used to get enough from the sun. Most of us tend to work indoors nowadays, and you cannot get it if it's through a window. Supplementing is simple and effective, but you might want to get a blood test done first just to see if you are deficient in the first place.
No reason to supplement if you're not deficient. And it also does depend on the time of year, right? If it's about sun exposure?
Yes, and also it can depend on your skin tone. So I will get, because I am white like a ghost, as I was bullied all the way through school for, you will, and I am always the whitest man at the beach. Whitest man at the beach and whitest man on the coach awards I have received in my life. Thank you.
Congrats.
I will get vitamin D faster than someone with darker skin, which is why you can't really measure these things very well. You need to have a blood test.
Cool.
I think in the article we've got, 2,000 IUs daily is something that you might want to consider. But yeah, click the link in the article for more details on that.
Cool.
All right.
Now this is the moment we've been waiting for. Health, yeah, whatever. Performance. Talk to me, Andy.
Okay. I'm sorry. There's only two. There's only two.
Only 2?
No. All right. So there's 2 ones I got to think about. The first is creatine. Have you heard of creatine?
I have.
All right. So this is used in the phosphocreatine energy system. It's going to help with strength and power output in the first 10 seconds of lifting, and you want to take roughly 3 to 5 grams a day, which is a teaspoon. When it comes to creatine, take creatine monohydrate. You can take it at any time in the day. Just think of this as making sure the oil in your car is topped up. The timing doesn't matter.
Cool. And you don't need to spend exorbitant amounts of money on creatine. It's very cheap. It's
very cheap.
Readily available. It's a white, tasteless powder.
Now, as per the rules at the start of this video, I said creatine monohydrate. I didn't mention any other form of creatine, and that means
don't need it.
You got it. All right. So the next one is caffeine. You might have heard of caffeine.
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
So there are 2 good things about caffeine. It can suppress tiredness, and it can also enhance performance. It tends to enhance performance through, I believe, pain. I think increasing energy output and slightly, and then through dampening pain. The former there decreases in effect if you use it regularly, and therefore I would basically suggest, if you are going to take it, that you only take it for your 2 hardest workouts of the week.
Interesting.
Pep you up, really.
Cool.
Caffeine, there are a lot of pre-workout supplements out there. Caffeine is basically the one that is doing 90% of the work.
Sure.
And that's what you want to consider. I do have some numbers for you there. So for suppression of tiredness, it'll be, and there is quite a broad range because individual tolerance varies. Start on the lower end, 50 to 600 milligrams a day. And then for the performance-enhancing effect, take 200 to 400 milligrams around an hour before your workout, but only do that twice a week. And again, this is just so that we don't build a tolerance to it.
Probably not a good idea to start right off at 600 milligrams a day, I'd imagine.
Certainly.
I would be wired. Anyway, continue.
Okay, now we're on to the B list.
Oh, okay, the B list. So let's refresh. We just talked about the A list. These had basically good research backing. They have had plenty of double-blind studies, and they might actually, be worth the investment because they're all relatively cheap. Let's talk about the B list. What does the B list stand for again?
The B list, they are perhaps the evidence base is slightly less solid, and they're conditionally relevant. So there are 2 here that I want you to think about that are perhaps worth considering. And that
because we're CrossFitters.
Yeah, because you're CrossFitters. That's beta-alanine, and Citrulline Malate. Specifically because your CrossFitters, beta-alanine might be worth considering. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of beta-alanine, and I did hear of caffeine. I was fibbing earlier. So what does beta-alanine do? Why would that be beneficial to me?
Think of it as like the muscular endurance version of creatine. So for performance outputs of over a minute, it can help slightly with that.
Okay, and most of us are doing metcons that are certainly longer than 1 minute, so that could potentially help.
Yeah, so the key there is over a minute with restricted rest intervals, and 3 to 4 grams a day. Again, any time of day, like with your creatine, is going to be fine.
And personal experience here, if you start right with 4 grams to the face, you will get lots of tingling. I've been told it's okay. It might be worth building up a little bit and not starting with jumping right into 4 grams. Another thing to note is this is also a very cheap supplement. You don't have to buy a fancy version. You don't have to buy it mixed in with proprietary blends, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. You can just get pure beta-alanine.
All right, the next one to consider is Citrulline Malate. This works through increasing blood flow to the muscles through an increase in nitric oxide. And this may help also clear ammonia, which can help with recovery after workouts.
Fantastic. Again, we do have more details about maybe like dosing and things of that nature, and a little bit more resources on the science behind this stuff in the article that we've linked in the description.
Okay, now onto the C list of supplements.
Ooh, the C list.
So these are ones that I really wouldn't, perhaps keep an eye on, but they're not worth taking. The first one, glutamine, doesn't really do much unless you are a burns victim.
This used to be a really popular supplement, correct?
Yeah, it did, but no, just don't bother. It's not really going to help you out.
So science has come out where it's not worth the investment.
BCAAs, that's branched chain amino acids, super popular. There's pretty nice fat margins on these. They're not going to do anything if your protein intake is sufficient throughout the day. And if your protein intake is not sufficient throughout the day, then your course of action should not be, okay, I'm going to take the important bits of the protein in a 3 times more expensive, 5 times more expensive,
At least.
per gram whey and supplement with that. No, you should eat more protein. The only situation where BCAAs may be relevant is when you are training fasted. You could take them, say, 10 to 15 minutes prior to working out, around 10 grams with water. However, I would argue that you may as well just take a scoop of whey around 30 minutes prior to working out. The difference because of digestion times and digestion rates. And you will get all of the BCAAs anyway, along with the other amino acids as well. So BCAAs, pretty much forget about it. If you've already got them, great, cool, continue drinking them, that's fine, but you don't bother buying them in the future.
You might as well just take protein. And another thing, we actually didn't mention in the A list, A supplements, protein we consider more of a liquid food.
Yeah.
Rather, so like whey protein, a lot of people consider that a supplement. We actually consider that a liquid food rather than a supplement. So that would technically, I guess, end up on our A list, but really it's just liquid food. So I just want to make that clear that we do recommend potentially whey protein.
Whey protein specifically because this does have the highest quality. It is the highest quality of protein when you look at the amino acids within it. However, a pea rice blend in a 30-70 ratio, I might have that backwards. Let's put that in the description, please, Ben.
Okay.
Is going to mimic the amino acid profile of whey protein. So for those vegans out there, that is something that you could consider. All right, so the last one is HMB. There's been some recent research on HMB. I'll tell you now, it's dodgy research. I don't trust the authors on this, and I would ignore it. And if you want to know the details of that, we've got it covered in the article. Finally, there are 2 common scams of the Indian.
Ooh, here's the sweetness. What are the scams, Andy?
The first one is proprietary blends. The second one is amino acid spiking in protein powders. Let's first look at proprietary blends. So sometimes you will see a product and on the back label it will say Proprietary Muscle Blend 11 grams. Now what this is either, number one, these manufacturers have stumbled upon some compound or some special blend of things that suddenly makes their products massively more effective.
That's what they want you to believe.
But they haven't published any of the research, right? Or they just want to microdose the expensive ingredients and not tell you that they haven't put in the effective dosages of those ingredients because they can just hide it behind this muscle blend. Essentially, it's a way for manufacturers to rip us off. Avoid that, unless they list the actual gram amounts.
So proprietary, super complex muscle matrix, proprietary blend.
Avoid. Don't buy.
Avoid.
Yes. The final one that I want you to be aware of is it's the shenanigans that go on in the whey industry. This is a openly traded commodity, whey. You can pay too much for your whey, but you cannot get cheap whey. If you get cheap whey, it is probably not whey. Or it's been messed with, or there's only 50% whey in the actual product. So that's why you always want to look at the back. If in a 35 gram scoop, you have just 10 grams of protein, that is not whey protein. More commonly, you'll have a 35 grams in a scoop, and then you'll have, say, 25 grams-ish of protein. That's quite common. That's not necessarily messing around. Now, one thing that the manufacturers will do, because whey is expensive, is they will use a flaw in the testing method of protein to make sure they pass the tests for how much protein are in the products without actually having the same amount of whey as they should. So they can do that by spiking it with cheap amino acids. Glutamine actually is one that will test out as having nitrogen content, but that doesn't actually mean that it's got the whey in there.
So the scoop could have 25 grams of protein. You look at the label, you're like, oh, perfect, 25 grams of protein. But in fact, it's not necessarily the right protein.
It doesn't have the same whey. It's got less whey, more individual amino acids that are cheap. So you're not actually getting that full blend of amino acids that you really want to be getting. So what you can do, you can look on the back of the packet, and for a 25 gram of protein, you should be getting 2.7 grams of leucine, or around 5.5-ish grams. I think it's slightly higher, but you know, this is within testing standards.
Sure.
5.5 grams of branched chain amino acids. If you're not getting that per 25 grams of protein that's listed, there's possibly something dodgy going on. Possibly. I'm not saying there always is.
Sure.
There are brands that have this listed on the backs of the packets. Go with those is what I would suggest.
Because if they don't list it, you technically don't know. Just like the proprietary blends. If they're not listing everything that's in there, you have no idea what the quantities are. And that could be the case with the amino acids as well.
Yeah, that brand is Dimetize. There are many others out there. I just like the flavor of that one, and the price for what I can get it in Japan is good. But please feel free to go with anything. Right,
there's no specific brand we're hanging our hat on. We're not sponsored by a supplement company, nor will we ever be. So just make sure you're looking for that 2.7 G of leucine, and also the 5.5, maybe slightly more, BCAA per about 32 grams per scoop, I believe, as well.
Well, it depends not on the size of the scoop, it depends on how much protein is in there. For about 25 grams of protein, you should be getting 2.7 grams of leucine.
Perfect.
I think we're good there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, we've gone over 2 protein powder scams, or just 2 supplement scams. We've suggested some potential supplements you could look into as a CrossFitter. I hope that this video was useful for you. The bottom line, a few keys to remember before we sign off. You cannot out-supplement a bad diet. Most supplements out there are probably a waste of money.
If you want to read more about this, if you want to look at the reference list, in the link below, we've got that. I've written up the article. So
fantastic. Thumbs up if you like the video. Thumbs down if you love proprietary blends and you want to just keep taking them and you hate all of this knowledge that we just dropped on you. Make sure you click subscribe if you haven't yet. And again, go to WODprep.com. click the links in the description below. We have a lot of really good stuff specifically about nutrition that can help you out. Double pound. See you guys.